For a final time, we welcome you to the campus of IMG Academy in Sarasota. This is Cavs Training Camp Nightly. Hi, everyone. It's our final episode. John, Serena, and Tim, great to have you with us as always. Camp is coming to a close. And Serena, what have we learned?
I mean, it's been a fun time out here. I love how things have been loose in the sense of mental days like playing football, but I love the attention to detail out here. We've learned that he's really committed to the depth, Kenny Atkinson, going long in the rotations, and also that he's doubling down on the defensive end. And offensively, we're seeing them pick up the pace and the tempo.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Great move by the organization to come here to IMG, get the guys together. Serena, as you said, have some fun. But make no mistake, to state the obvious, there are high expectations.
Yeah, and the preseason, right around the corner. We're starting up next week. We have a packed show as always. I mean, every show has been
unbelievable this entire week.
It's been fantastic.
So fun.
General Manager Mike Gansey, then Cavs legend Mark Price. They are straight ahead right here on Cavs Training Camp Nightly. We are back on Cavs Training Camp Nightly and joined by Cavs General Manager Mike Gansey, who has already complained that he does not have a Rock Entertainment Sports Network polo. Already. Didn't take you very long.
I don't know who I need to talk to.
Well, they're sharp, aren't they?
They're very
nice.
Like
we'll have your people talk to our people. We'll see what we can do. Hey, first things first, what an offseason. Congratulations. It was a front office. You guys wanted continuity, and it's precisely what you got, starting with Donovan Mitchell.
It's been great just, getting Donovan, Evan, Jarrett, Isaac all extended and, bringing that continuity, and let's go.
Yeah.
As fun as it is to see the continuity, there is one guy out there that is new in terms of players, and that's Jalen Tyson. And a lot of his teammates have been talking him up throughout training camp this week. I think fans are curious just about why he was the guy and what you've seen from him so far.
I mean, obviously we loved him in the draft, took him, but he just fits in. He finds a way to fit in, impact the game, and he's done that really all September. You got a glimpse of it in Summer League, but he just does so many things well that he doesn't have like that one elite skill, but he does everything really well, and he's just finding a way, making an impact on both ends.
Gans, you're all over the globe. I mean, how does that process work, right? Let's take Tyson, for example. How, where did it start? When did you look at him for the first time, and how did he become a Cleveland Cavalier?
Yeah, I mean, he was highly ranked coming out of high school, went to Texas, so saw him a little bit there, and then obviously Texas Tech, and then, coming to Cal with Madsen, it was his team, and he obviously took a big step, and, all our scouts are all over the place. We probably saw him like 15, 20 times live this past year and brought him in for a workout, and, we're happy to have him.
So, yeah, in the draft room, how does that play out? You were in the middle of the first round, right? As it starts coming down the board, take us through what it's like in that room as this, process plays out and rolls on.
Yeah, so like at 20, we're trying to get as many guys in we can, like kind of in that range, and then kind of as the week, 2 weeks, before the draft, we focus like here's 10 guys that we think could be there at 20. There might only be 3 or 4 guys that are eventually there, but like let's really hone in on these guys, make more calls on background, see if we can do maybe an extra interview with them. And, Jalen was one of those guys, and, when we got to 20, he was the guy on the top of our board, and we're lucky to get him.
You mentioned Madsen, his head coach at Cal, who was actually here at training camp. Great to chat with him, and he was saying, I got to tell you, his passing ability is off the charts. I know he was his head coach, and he's talking to him high up, but he goes, he's going to be one of the top 3 passers on this team, and he's ready for the NBA. How much was that a part of what you guys saw?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he does so many things, and at Cal, he had the ball in his hands the whole time. So at Texas Tech, he was more off the ball, and I think with us, it'll probably be more off the ball, but me and Kenny and Kobe were talking, like, can he be a point guard? Can we put the ball in his hands, like, as a third guard or, obviously 82 games, maybe guys are injured. Like, can you put the ball in his hands? And like you've seen here, just like he finds a way in transition. He just makes the right play. And, those guys are hard to find in this league.
Mike, last year, second-round draft choice, Craig Porter Jr. is able to crack the lineup and contribute. How valuable is it for guys like Craig and Jalen to have multiple years of college basketball experience?
I think it's huge. Like they're more mature. They're not 19, 20 where it might take a little more time. Physically, they're stronger and bigger. But like Craig saved us last year. I mean, we had so many injuries, and Philly, Denver, Miami. Like games that we probably had no business winning, Craig stepped up, and that's underrated. Having those guys that can come in and really help you when you're down bodies, and it's such a long season.
I mean, nothing against the one and dones, but what does that extra college experience bring to the NBA level?
Yeah, I just think it's just more experience, more maturity. Like, they've been in a college system, they've been in big games probably to a degree, where like Amani, for example, like he went to Eastern Michigan. The MAC isn't like a BCS school, but like it took him some time last year. And physically, he wasn't ready. He did a great job this summer getting stronger, but like with Jalen and Craig, their bodies are kind of what they are. They can obviously get a little bit stronger, maybe a little bit faster, but like physically they're ready, and then mentally, I think they're a little more advanced than someone like that's coming in one and done.
Gans, you bring in Kenny Atkinson, and he said, I'm not going to overhaul everything. He said, we're going to do this incrementally. Where does this team need to get better on the floor to take that next step?
Yeah. I think it's a little, obviously offensively was a crutch for us last year, just the creativity, having two bigs, spacing, stuff like that. We got to be more creative with. But I mean, these last 2 days have been great. Yeah. Just like the vibes, the positivity, the excitement, guys having fun, but also getting challenged and competing. So he's going to bring a lot to the table. And obviously he's big with the player development. So, even if you're an older veteran like Tristan, there's still, ways to get better, all the way down to our young guys.
Yeah, we caught up with Evan Mobley. Where does that player development, manifest itself with the big man, who's still young, obviously?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Evan, it's just being more aggressive, and I think Kenny's going to put him in a lot of different positions to just be aggressive. Like, you got to go score. Like, stop making the extra pass. Like, you got to be selfish sometimes. Because if we want to get to where we want to get, I think Evan's got to be a big piece to that, and I think he's capable of it. He's gotten stronger, and I think he got a lot of confidence from last year in the playoffs. So I think it's just more up here, but Kenny's going to put him in different spots on the floor to really thrive.
You have the unique experience of being around some of these guys so far for their entire NBA careers, right? You mentioned Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, even Isaac. With Darius and seeing where he is now and where he was in year one, what have you seen, and what do you think that next step for him is this season?
Yeah, I mean, he's the longest tenured Cav, which is
crazy.
I was just about to say, that's wild.
I know that's been talked about, but like, obviously he's the one that's really helped us kind of, be relevant again. And I think bringing in Donovan was a little bit of adjustment, but last year, I mean, with his jaw, he's had so many different like fluke injuries that I know this summer he was really, really possessed to have a really great season. He got stronger. And, I think just him just fitting in, and I think Kenny's going to put him in better positions to really thrive. And really, like, you saw it when we had Ricky, like, playing more off the ball. Like, we didn't – last year he was just all pick and roll, where now I think, with Donovan too, like, getting those guys off the ball, and then it's always going to come back to him late in the clock, but, like, playing more off the ball, I think that's where Darius can thrive because, Kenny was with Steph, and Steph's off the ball, so – using a little bit of that philosophy and stuff with Darius, I think is really going to help him this year.
All right, fun question for you. Earlier this week, we heard about Cavs Trivia Night as kind of a team bonding thing. Now, you're a Northeast Ohio guy, great player at Olmsted Falls High School, so you're Northeast Ohio true and true. So who was your favorite Cavs player growing up when you were living in Olmsted Falls?
Yeah, I was a big Zadrunas guy,
Z?
Z was my guy, I love Z, and his story just coming back from injuries. But I mean, obviously, I could say LeBron. LeBron's always my guy. But the Larry Nance, Brad Daugherty, Mark Price days. I mean, that's when I was at my grandfather's house every weekend. My mom would drop me off. I'd stay there, and we'd watch the Cavs every night, and that was the team. So
Z's not a bad golfer too. I've seen him out there on the golf course. He's not bad.
Mike Gansey, thanks so much for visiting us. Like I said, wonderful offseason. Congratulations. Can't wait to get going.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, our thanks to Mike. More Cavs Training Camp Nightly right after this. We welcome you back to Cavs Training Camp Nightly, where we are joined by a special guest, a Cavalier legend, and a new grandfather. It is Mark Price. Congratulations with the new addition to the family, my friend.
Yeah, they're the best, man. I can tell you. They said it. They told us it was going to be great, and it's above
Yeah.
expectations.
Have you worked on your spoiling the child game yet? Or you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you're well skilled at that already.
Yeah, yeah. I told them when she's at Grandpa's house, they're Grandpa's rules.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So,
So, Mark, always great to see you. You've been here the last couple of days. Tim, Serena, whenever I see this guy and you watch this out here, I think 33s a game nowadays. Do you know how lethal this man would have been on the floor? I mean, do you ever think to yourself, how in the world did I get born 30 years too early?
yeah. Well, if I think about it too hard, I kind of cry, to be honest. One, I'd be making a whole lot more money than I did. Two, I'd be shooting a lot more threes. I was talking to Big Brad the other day, and we were talking about things, and I said, you do know, if we were playing in today's era, I would never pass you the ball, you know. And my misses, you would rebound and throw them back to me.
Right.
So,
Yeah, Brad always talks about how well his game would translate.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise, right? Humble Brad. I mean, this guy led the league, what, 5 threes per a wild 5 threes per game. Led the league one season in the NBA.
Yeah,
it's crazy the way the game's evolved.
it really is. Yeah, 2 years I led the league, making
Right.
you know,
Shooting
five threes a game.
right.
So that's a first quarter stat these days.
Yeah.
You know.
Mark, you've been out here now the past few days. When you look at what you've seen in training camp so far, and more than just what you see out here on the court, but you're around, you're at the hotel, you're seeing these guys every day. Give us a sense of what you're feeling during this training camp.
Yeah, I think just coming and watching, you know, the practice part of it, they're still figuring a lot of things out, new coach, new system, all that kind of stuff. But talking to the guys individually, you know, I'm just getting a real sense of maybe a little bit more urgency, a little more seriousness to the main core guys. That, hey, you know what? We've tasted the playoffs the last couple of years. We got a new coach in here. You know, it's put up or shut up time a little bit. You know what I mean? And I like that. I get a real sense of a maturing process with the guys now. And, yeah, I think they're ready to go for it.
Mark, you and I have talked about the fact that you were so fortunate and blessed to play for Lenny Wilkens, one of the all-time great point guards. And I mentioned that to DG yesterday, that he now gets to play for a point guard in Kenny Atkinson, who played that position at Richmond. Talk about your experience and how beneficial that was, and also how you feel Kenny and DG, how they'll blossom together.
Yeah, I think anytime you play, I was extremely blessed to play for the great Lenny Wilkens, and having played my position and being, you know, a Hall of Fame player, it's the little idiosyncrasies maybe that other coaches might not understand, the guy that's played that position before. And that relatability, I think, really helps because, I mean, the point guard, let's face it, you know, they're an extension of the coach out on the floor. Not only, I mean, I know it's a new era where they shoot the ball a whole lot more, but they're still in charge of, you know, they're kind of the head of the snake out there on the floor. And so when you're aligned with the head coach and on the same page, it makes a huge difference.
So Darius Garland last season had a staggered year, right? He had the fractured jaw, drinking out of a straw for 6 weeks. What are his next steps as you see it? He appears poised for a breakout year.
Yeah, I would expect him to have a great year. You know, we saw how, I mean, it was an all-star season a couple years ago for him. And last year was just, I mean, he had a devastating injury. I mean, had his mouth he literally shut for you know, a couple months there and couldn't even eat. So, yeah, just physically and getting his body back together and mindset now coming in healthy, kind of getting a new lease on life with a new coach. All that stuff, I think, really bodes well for Darius of having a really good year this year.
What do you want to see X's and O's out of the backcourt, right? Where can they improve incrementally and get a little bit better this season?
Yeah, I think obviously Coach Atkinson's, you know, being at Golden State and, you know, working with guys like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, I'm sure he's going to bring some of that. At times, I think the last couple years with Darius and Donovan trying to learn how to play together because, let's face it, they're similar in a lot of ways in that they're ball-dominant guards. But I think with Kenny, there'll be a little bit more movement, maybe playing off the ball some for each of the guys to where it's not just, okay, let's take turns watching the other one go one-on-one type deal, which I think it fell into a little bit the last couple years. But just watching a little bit of what they're doing out here, they're multiple. They're playing different positions, even using the big guys, Evan Mobley out on the floor maybe a little bit more. than in the past. I think they'll be a fun team to watch.
You mentioned just the relatability piece and how important it is where point guard and coach have to really be on the same page. And Kenny's coming in here trying to build these relationships in training camp, and you can tell how intentional he is about trying to start the relationship off right. In your experience, what is the most important thing to just making sure that you're creating that relationship and that bond?
Yeah, I think it just goes back to, spending time together. I was fortunate, although I played for Lenny, we were together for, 8 years. And so, I knew what he wanted. He knew what I liked. Was able to work together. That part will take some time. But I think just going in initially, I think Kenny's done a great job. Even over the summer, I heard he went and visited guys and just tried to spend time with them, get to know them as people, as human beings. I think people forget about that. Hey, they're these basketball stars, but they're people and they're human beings, and developing that relationship and that trust from a coach-player standpoint is huge.
Mark, you referenced that you had a chat with Brad. You still keep in touch with Big Brad. You and Brad on that pick and roll was absolutely lethal. So fast forward now to DG and the bigs with Evan and Jared. How do you see that relationship on floor developing and improving?
Yeah, this is another year together that they're playing together, so that should continue to grow and get better. I think you got two guys that obviously are long and can get to the rim, so putting a lot of pressure on the defense that way in the pick and roll situations, and then spacing the floor with shooters. And, playing that inside-outside game, I think, can be very effective for them.
Mark, how fun is it to be a Cavs fan at this time? Like, what's the energy surrounding this team right now?
Yeah, I think it's really fun when you're good, right? And when you win games, and I can,
For us too.
I can relate. When my first couple years when we came in together and we were building from the ground floor up, the first couple years was hard work. But then you get to a level now that where you're one of the elite teams in the East and you're coming in, then there's just a lot of excitement, especially around training camp time, that, hey, guys, this is our year. It's going to be our year. We got a chance to compete for something, and that just makes it more exciting, more fun for everybody involved.
Mark, it's always fun catching up.
Always, guys.
We'll see you around Cleveland.
Oh, yeah.
The great Mark Price, as Cavs Training Camp Nightly rolls on. Back on Cavs Training Camp Nightly as we wrap things up for a final time. We'd like to thank, of course, Mike Gansey and Mark Price. What an array of guests we have had this week.
I mean, how great, John, has it been to sit at training camp the entire time, watch practice, and then just have the best of the best and guests come over to us right afterwards. I just feel like we've gotten such a great sense of the personality of this team.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, Serena. The guys are a little more relaxed at training camp. Not that there hasn't been intensity to it, because there has, but the opportunity just to sit down and chat. Once they get into that regular season mode, that all changes.
And we're only 3 days away from the preseason. Cavs are at home on Tuesday. They take on Chicago. Indiana on Thursday. Get your tickets at Cavs.com. So Tuesday, our first television and radio broadcast as well. Off we go, guys.
We do. You know what's going to be fun, I think, in the preseason? We're going to see so many of these guys out there, right? Expect a rotation of at least 10, 11 guys. Atkinson really wants to see what he has in this group, give guys opportunities, expect to see just as much defensive intensity as we did last season. But then on the offensive end, they've talked about, all right, more offensive rebounding, picking up the pace, crashing the boards, pushing in transition, seeing Evan rebound, push in transition, play and make out a trail. So it's going to be fun to see some of these little tweaks just slowly start to make their way.
Yeah, Tim, I'm excited to see what they do with Mobley and to see how that backcourt works together. Starting backcourt, but again, the rotation, we're going to see a lot of combinations, not just in the preseason, but I imagine into the regular season as well.
You're exactly right. Both of you are. Kenny mentioned the fact he's going to go 10 or 11 deep on a nightly basis. He wants to get guys minutes, and I think the consistent theme, guys, has been Evan Mobley. We've got to find a way to get him unlocked offensively, and Kenny Atkinson certainly has the resume and the background that he knows how to do that on the offensive end.
Well, this is our last episode, but this is not it for Rock Entertainment Sports Network. In fact, we have great programming, the road back, coming up shortly in the upcoming weeks and throughout the entire season. This is going to be fun. This is the launch, guys, and can't wait.
And can we give some shout outs to the guys behind the scenes? I mean, we've had Leo and Jeremy working these cameras all week long with us.
It's a two-man
sweating
show.
out here
Right.
too in
They're
Sarasota.
they're the
They
real
are.
talent.
They are.
They're the
You
real-
don't see them up here, but they're the real talent behind it all.
You usually don't see me either, so thanks for letting me barge in on your party.
Yeah. Well, it's been special. Thanks so much for watching us here on Cavs Training Camp Nightly. More to come as the season rolls along.